Hello, everyone. Chip Paul here with another exciting version of Chip Talks Health. So today we're going to talk about gut health, and it is the holiday season. So it's mid-December right now. Everybody is recovering from Thanksgiving and getting ready to see the family for Christmas holidays. Well, let's talk about that a little bit, and then we'll get into gut health. So first of all of us usually eat stuff that we don't normally eat during this time. Does that have effects on our gut health? It absolutely does. You might be experiencing some bloating, some things like that from just, eating not so good stuff. We all have a tendency to eat a lot of sweets during the holidays. We eat a lot of corn syrup, and corn syrup is really high in omega-6s. So if you listen to some other chip talks that we've done about omega-3, omega-6 balance, we don't want to get too whacked out on the omega-6 side, which most of us already are. So that, pecan pie is pretty much a corn syrup bomb. Don't think about that as you're eating it, but you will have to recover from it. The other thing that happens to a lot of people, and again, we see a lot of people, here at our clinic, and they'll come in, they'll say, I ask them, is anything going on? Got any gut problems or anything? No, I'm fine. As long as I take my, baking soda before I eat, right? And so that's kind of not a normal thing. And so you shouldn't have to do that. All right. So your body is always working toward perfect. All right. So if you're overly tired, that is not perfect. Something's going on. If your gut hurts when you eat, that is not perfect. Something is going on. If you, have getting bloating, have trouble with your digestion, have, empty too quickly, diarrhea, or empty too slowly, have constipation. Again, those things they can be point by point related to what you're eating. But in general, you should have kind of normal function or in a tight little band, not like this, right? And most of us do this. So most of us are doing this right now, and our normal function should be just this tight little band. So you might get a little constipated depending on what you ate, or a little diarrhea depending on a little bug or something you might have during the time. But to have that all the time, that's not normal, okay? So during the holidays, we have a tendency to make all this stuff worse. And if you look at the cause, so what's the cause of all this gastric upset? It could be two things. So it could be a pathogen. So it could be some kind of bad bug that snuck past your immune system and has you hooked. And there's lots of those. Hookworm and pinworm we see in people all the time. That's what our dogs and cats and horses and pigs and cows get. That's why we deworm them every 6 months. That's why we should deworm every 6 months. And we see those in tons of 80-90% of the people that we see. Also things like H. pylori. So he's a bad guy. He's a bad bug, and he gets in the stomach. He's what causes burning, ulcers, gastric upset, stomach cancer. It can go worse and worse, pancreatic cancer. So all those are caused really, for the most part, by H. pylori. So if you're having symptoms like that, that's pretty severe. I would, suggest that you call me or call somebody like me and get you some kind of pylori treatment. But anyway, around the holidays, again, we're all eating poorly. And the other thing that we do is we eat when we're around each other. Okay. And when you eat, and again, lots of chip talks about these. So go back, if you're interested in this, go back, because we've talked about this a ton. But when you eat, you lose, the strength, or a lot of strength in your immune system for 5 hours. So eating and being around people is, dangerous as to passing pathogens around. So we're eating and we're around our family during this time, which is dangerous, can be, somewhat dangerous, let's say, for our health, unless you know what you're doing. Okay. So again, intermittent fasting, try not to eat around family. I know, good luck with that. Cindy and I end up eating around our family. So we kind of do what we shouldn't do, but I'm just telling you, what happens when you do eat. Okay. So let's talk a little bit about the gut and the microbiome and why that's so important. All right. So what happens when we eat? Our body's a machine, right? And there's certain things that we need in order to run this machine. And it turns out that those things are omega-3 and omega-6 fats, mainly saturated fat, kind of, and monounsaturated fat, kind of, and we, kind of need some carbs, but mainly omega-3 and omega-6 fats. as we eat those fats immediately turn into endocannabinoids. Those endocannabinoids then, the actual formation of those endocannabinoids sends messages to our vagal afferent nerve, which sends messages to our hypothalamus hippocampus, which sets a nutritional state inside of us. So if we're eating wrong or bad, again, we've got a big warning signal that goes off in our hypothalamus hippocampus. And then what happens is basically you're kind of allowed or permitted to develop a biome, okay? And that biome should be reflective of the deficits, the things that we're not getting when we're eating. And so it turns out that bacteria make things called short-chain fatty acids. And these short-chain fatty acids can replace some of the stuff that we build from fats if we're deficient in fats, all right? So right now we eat a bunch of omega-6 and no omega-3. I guess I should do that the other way. It looks different to me. But so we eat a bunch of omega-6 and no omega-3 right now. And what this does is it sets a very reactive and inflammatory state. Again, if you want to know more about this, we've done a ton of shows about this. But what this also does as to the biome, your hypothalamus hippocampus goes, oh, crap, we're not getting any anti-inflammatory mediators at all. We have to build a whopping biome. Go, boys, go. Develop. So you've got to develop all, because of our just eating tendencies. This isn't just holiday eating. We all eat way more omega-6 than omega-3. So because of that tendency, we have to have a whopping microbiome to offset, basically build all the anti-inflammatory mediators that we need, okay? So that's not optimal, let's say, for your health and function, but it is the reality of where we are right now. So we kind of have to deal with that reality. But there is an optimal, there is a better way, and hopefully we'll all kind of trend that way. But right now we have to deal with the reality. So the reality is that we all have a whopping biome. Now, what happens in the biome? So again, these are bacteria that are living off of you. They're like fleas and ticks. Do they help you? Kinda. Again, they're giving you anti-inflammatories and they're making short-chain fatty acids that you're using. So that's helpful. Do they hurt you? Likely. Yeah. Again, does a flea or a tick hurt a dog? It might be giving some benefit, but, again, these guys are part of our reality and existence right now. So we have to deal with them right now, but hopefully in the future, we'll figure out how to operate ourselves without a bunch of help from fleas and ticks, let's say. But for right now, it is the reality. So what happens in the biome and how does this affect everything, right? Well, the biome, again, depending on the bacteria in the biome, produces all kinds of these chemicals, right? And in particular, dopamine and serotonin can be produced in the biome. And the biome can, let's say, increase dopamine or increase serotonin. And serotonin is what is our motor. So it gives us, our fine motor stuff. So the endocannabinoid system generally is kind of how does a thought get translated into a movement, right? Well, there's a whole lot of stuff there, but let's say endocannabinoid system and serotonin are deeply involved in those processes. But how our mind works, again, that's serotonin and dopamine. So these guys are deeply embedded in how you feel about yourself, how you feel about the day, whether you want to get up and get out of bed today or not, whether you think it's a bright, shiny day or a horrible, ugly, cloudy day, right? So these guys matter, and these guys will affect our ability to generate mood and that kind of mood. And just like I was talking about with kind of reactivity, how we're built to kind of do this, but we're all doing this right now. It's the same thing with mood. Okay. So we do this same thing with mood, and we should kind of operate in this tight little band. If something happens that's sad, should we get sad? Yeah, a little bit, but not down here, so most of us kind of live on this roller coaster every day. And this has a lot to do with our gut biome. So there is an optimal, let's say, gut biome, and there is a way to begin to detox yourself from some of the stuff that you do. So what do you need to do to take care of your gut biome and to, let's say, promote the proper kinds of bacteria? It's real easy. Okay. So fiber. So any fibrous substance, and what fiber is it's stuff that your body really doesn't use and can't digest. So it might be able to kind of break it down a little bit, but it doesn't, like cellulose. So your body doesn't really use cellulose. It kind of breaks it down a little bit. But it's useful for bacteria, and the bacteria use it and eat it. And the bacteria will, let's say, be stimulated by it. So fiber in a fermenter is what we always say is useful for any kind of gut health, because that will stimulate the growth of gram-negative bacteria. And, they can be helpful in some circumstances, let's say. That fiber is a super good way to begin to rebuild your gut after the holidays. And, a fermenter could be, a shot of vinegar. It could be apple cider vinegar. It could, if you like pickles, be sure to get them without the dye in them, but pickles are a good, fiber and fermenter, let's say, together. So that's a pretty good way to detox. There are probiotics. I'm not really a fan of probiotics. It's better to let your body, let's say, develop that diversity on its own. There are times when you have to force that diversity, and we may be dealing with some of that now. But in general, let's say prebiotics are better. So fiber in a fermenter would be prebiotics, and let your body kind of develop its own flora around its need. And that seems to be better than trying to force flora down into the biome, which doesn't seem very kind. Okay, so those are some natural detox strategies. We do have some products, obviously, in TrueMedX that help. So we built I actually built a prebiotic. It was called Gut. And this product was really fiber to fermenter. So it was there to promote good bacteria in your gut and kind of give you the starter sticks you need to develop the kind of bacteria that you need. So it was a good product, worked great. And then we also had another product that I built for pylori called Blast. And Blast has a bunch of berberine in it and a bunch of other stuff that'll really help with H. pylori. Those products were very similar, and the incidence of H. pylori is just stupid. And, if you didn't have H. pylori, you taking a little extra berberine is certainly not going to help you or hurt you. Sorry. So we put those two products together, and we created a product called Gut Restore. Now, this is a super good gut rebuild product. It's really good for pylori. So if you have that burning and, when you eat, or gastric upset, so you likely have pylori, and this product would be great for you. But anyway, it's a good product. So you might check that out after the holidays. Again, TrueMedX Gut Restore product is an excellent product. If you're worried about worms, we have a full line of parasites. We have a full line of deworming products. So those are also really good for after the holidays. It'll help you get your gut back in line and back restored to the way it was, and hopefully even better than it was before the holidays. All right, so what are some tips that we can exercise for long-term gut health? Well, it's a system, okay? So, and it's more than just, one pill is going to fix everything. We have to understand that we're a machine, right? So we're this very complicated, very sophisticated, but also pretty logical and pretty easy to understand machine. The fact that we don't have a logical construct right now to kind of teach that around is the difficult thing. But if you consider the endocannabinoid system as kind of the logical construct to teach you about how you work, then let's talk about this. So the number one first thing that we have to understand is eating. All right. So the most important thing that we do, let's say, to ourselves every day is eat. It's the most consequential. It costs you the most, right? So you drop other systems. It's very costly to eat. But right now, in our current understanding of ourselves and how we work, we kind of have to eat, right? So we have to take in nutrients through our mouth hole and process them. That may or may not always be the case. Again, there's, once you really understand how a cell works, can you energize a cell without nutrienting that cell. There's, other ways to nutrient, let's just say. So there's probably other ways to nutrient you. And there's probably ways that we don't really understand about how to nutrient yet, like the sun and, natural processes and things that we just don't quite understand yet. But all that's coming at traction, and we'll likely figure that out. But anyway, for right now, we need to understand that putting stuff in our mouth is consequential. And we need to understand what the consequences are so that we really honestly minimize that behavior. So I'm not talking about eating less. I'm just talking about eating less frequently. So not talking about, restricting calories, really. I'm talking about just restricting meals, mainly, and frequency of meals. So that's the number one thing. And when we begin to understand this, we're going to understand our energy better, kind of when we go into this low gear state, which we do when we eat, and what this high gear state is all about. But right now we have no understanding of that. So that's kind of the first thing that we all need to learn is, fasting in fed state and kind of how consequential it is to go into a fed state and how advantageous it is to be in a fasted state. So we've all got to kind of learn that first. And then as we begin to learn that, again, we need to then examine what we're eating and how consequential that is. Okay. So we all kind of know, well, if we eat a bunch of sugar, we're likely going to, be calorically rich. We're likely going to retain a lot of those calories, and it's going to lead to a certain phenotype, which is likely, obesity. But is there more to the story than that? Yeah, there's a lot more to the story than that. There always is. So understanding what are the critical things that we need to eat. And again, what does that look like right now? Omega-3 and omega-6 fats, absolutely king. Saturated and monounsaturated fats, right below that. 9 essential amino acids, right below that. B and C vitamins, right below that. All the other vitamins below that. And then trace minerals, fiber, fermenter. That's kind of it, right? You can put that all in a nice little cube. Here's your manna biscuit. And, we'll likely be working on that in the future. But, those are the things that we need to kind of eat. It takes the enjoyment out of it, doesn't it? I'd rather kind of consume it all in a nice meal than here, take your space biscuit. No, don't really want to do that. Rather get in a meal. But we need to know what those things are and how much we need every day, right? And so we need to make sure that we're getting what we're not getting, and we need to make sure that we're not getting too much of what we might be getting too much of. So super important that we understand what we eat. Now, think about what this does to your gut biome. Your gut biome is a response to need and what you're putting in your mouth. So just understanding the consequences of eating and then what we should put in our mouth will greatly increase, let's say, our management and our body's management of the gut biome, because it won't have to be so sophisticated and diverse because we understand what to eat. And it's a reaction to malnourishment, let's just say. So that's a coming attraction. But, we all just need to get smarter here, right? We all need to understand that for whatever reason, our society and our societal choices are not really good for our health right now. And if you eat out there and if you eat natural or if you eat processed food and you shop from the middle of the store and all that, that's going to be detrimental to your health. It might not immediately make you sick, but over the long term, you're going to decline. Your health is going to decline. So what we want to do is really teach you better practices. So teach you better about how you work, teach you about intermittent fasting, teach you about fasting and fed and the consequences, teach you about really what you should eat. And what makes me the expert on what you should eat? I'm not. I just studied what a cell needs. And I'm just telling you what a cell needs. Don't claim to be an expert on nutrition. I'm just telling you what a cell needs, and a cell needs those things. And I could absolutely prove that to you, in a peer-reviewed paper. So, there's lots of voices out there, but again, I'm just trying to tell you what I see your body needs. Okay, so again, back to the biome. Let's circle this back about holidays and kind of what you can do. All right, so number one thing is just be aware of what your behavior does to this vehicle. God gave you this beautiful, sovereign, wonderful vehicle, that should last for a certain amount of time here on the earth. And as soon as, we get it, we never had an owner's manual, which is criminal. So you can download an owner's manual. If you go up to the book on Chip Talks Health, or go to Chip Talks Health and go up to book. and you can download an operations manual for humans. But again, none of us got that, right? When we were born, none of us got that when here you've come of age, young man. Here's your operations manual for you. Here, young lady, here's your operations manual. Should be part of our Beaux-Arts experience or coming of age experience, right? But no one did that. So we've been naked and afraid in our journey to try to take care of this thing. And no one has really ever illustrated the importance of that. So anyway, a lot of information, but during the holidays, again, recognize that this is a very sovereign thing, a very beautiful gift that you've been given, that we need to take care of it. And one of the ways, or some of the major ways that we take care of it, is what we feed it, how we eat, what we put in it, how much we sleep, things like that. So anyway, enjoy your family this holiday. You might think a little bit about eating around a bunch of people, but enjoy your family, have a good time. And as soon as we hit that new year, let's detox. Let's get ready for the new year. Let's improve your health and all of our health in this new year. Let's maha. We'll see you guys later. Have a good Christmas. Bye.